Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank, where I climb the Online Series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, which I've linked down in the description below, we debuted this really strong team with Choice Scarf Groudon as well as Calyrex Ice Rider and Power Meteor Beam Celesteela. This is used by Hong Kong national champion China Sapphire to finish in the top 20 of the last ranked season. And today's episode is going to highlight Celesteela. So one thing that I want to do for Road to Ranked is for these episodes that really highlight a specific Pokemon, take a quick minute and a half or so to explain why that Pokemon is relevant. So if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps in the description below. But if this is something that you think is enjoyable or you find useful, I'd really appreciate any feedback. So yeah, let's talk about Celesteela. So first of all, Celesteela is not a very common Pokemon in this format whatsoever, despite it being quite good in previous years like 2017, 2019, and even early Sword and Shield. So what's the reason for this? Well, first of all, Celesteela has a lot of big weaknesses in the format. You're super weak into Pokemon like Regieleki, Charizard, and Thundurus, for example, and those are all very common Dynamax options in this format. So why would you use Celesteela and what makes it good? Well, first of all, if you look at the most common Pokemon in the format, you've got things like Incineroar, Zacian, Grimmsnarl, and Rillaboom. Celesteela actually so good into Incineroar, Grimmsnarl, and Rillaboom, right? You can go for Meteor Beam onto Incineroar, Flash Cannon, or Max Steel Spike on a Grimmsnarl, and Air Slash or Max Airstream onto the Rillaboom slot. You also actually do a fair amount of damage into a lot of the other, common Pokemon, whether it be Max Steel Spike into Zacian, Max Airstream into Kyogre, for example, or Max Rockfall / the Meteor Beam into Thundurus, right? And so Celesteela actually has a pretty good offensive matchup into a lot of common Pokemon, and it's exceptionally good at picking up knockouts onto a lot of the non-restricted support Pokemon. And that's really important, right? Because these Pokemon are on so many different teams, and so it's very likely you'll run into at least one of these three when you're playing in this format. So if you look at the Celesteela set here, this is super offensive. You've got Air Slash, Flash Cannon, Meteor Beam, and Protect, as I mentioned, and you've got a lot of special attack and speed investment. The speed of investment is designed so that after 2 Max Airstreams, the Celesteela will outspeed everything in the format, barring Choice Scarf Pokemon and Regieleki, but it means that you can outspeed Zacian and Calyrex Shadow Rider. This team is built in a particular way that covers for Celesteela's weaknesses really well, right? Because, yes, you can have a good matchup into Incineroar, Kyogre, and Rillaboom, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be able to just knock them out, because normally if you go up against things like Charizard, Thundurus, Regieleki, it's really hard to actually launch attacks with this Pokemon. This is where Choice Scarf Groudon comes in handy, right? With Choice Scarf Groudon, what you can do is Rock Tomb, and Rock Tomb then allows Celesteela to outspeed a lot of the Pokemon that I just mentioned. Regieleki is an interesting one, right? Because, obviously, even after Rock Tomb, you can still, Regieleki can still outspeed Celesteela. But the main thing is that, are you really going to want to bring a Regieleki into a matchup that has Groudon, Gastrodon, as well as 2 Trick Room users and a Venusaur? Probably not, right? And so this is smart team building in VGC. If you want to make a niche Pokemon work, you have to build around its strengths, and then you also have to really cover for its weaknesses. So the TLDR on Celesteela is like it has a very good offensive matchup into a lot of non-restricteds, and it can snowball the game so quickly thanks to its ability Beast Boost, which will give it a special attack boost every time you pick up a knockout. Celesteela can also boost its speed via Max Airstream coming from Air Slash, and boost its defense via Max Steel Spike from Flash Cannon. And so essentially this Pokemon can go from 0 boosts to, getting like 2 boosts per turn for a couple of turns, especially while you're Dynamax. And so what you want to do with this ideally is put it in a position where you can just chain knockout after knockout and just snowball things out of control. So that's one of the main reasons why Celesteela is good in this format. Our first game of the day here, and it's Kyogre Calyrex with Porygon, Amoonguss, Incineroar, and Rillaboom. Okay. Super interesting here. I feel like this restricted combo definitely is not the most popular, but is going to increase in popularity, especially as players explore more interesting duos going into Worlds. So Celesteela is really good here against a lot of my opponent's Pokemon. The main thing he doesn't love going up against is the Porygon 2. I am kind of worried about our damage output into Porygon in this game, I think, because it can heal up so consistently. The other thing is I don't know how much I actually want to bring Groudon here, because its damage output is actually just pretty subpar. I like Celesteela. Venusaur is interesting for Vine Lash, honestly. If I were my opponent, what would I do? Maybe lead Incin Porygon, try to set up Trick Room? Yeah, I honestly don't think I bring Groudon in this one. I'm down for a Celesteela Porygon lead, Calyrex Ice Rider in the back, and then I think I want Venusaur personally. This doesn't feel like a very good matchup because Groudon just can't do very much here at all, right? The Groudon, especially with the Choice Scarf on this team, is really designed to beat things like Zacian. But here against Kyogre Calyrex, like, I don't think Groudon's a great Dynamax option. We have no bulk on it. It's Choice Scarf. I could use it to change the weather, but we should already be faster than most of my opponent's Pokemon. And so it's like I don't really need Chlorophyll for Venusaur. They're going to go with Calyrex and Kyogre immediately, though. Okay. This is interesting. I mean, it could just be, like, Dynamax, Kyogre immediately. Funnily enough, like, this is actually where having Groudon would have helped maybe a little bit, because I could have just switched out into Groudon to win the Weather War on turn 1. So I'm mainly curious, like, how much speed investment they have on Kyogre here. They also have to be worried about a Gastrodon switching, right? Now, obviously, I don't have it, but they don't know that. Turn 1, I'm actually down to Protect here, and then Eerie Impulse into the Kyogre slot. I want to see if Kyogre Dynamax is here. I think one of these two Pokemon maxing certainly makes some sense. But neither actually max. Okay, that's fine by me. Yep, they just go for Water Spout. If it's Water Spout and then Calyrex Trick Rooming, I actually think that's a pretty favorable trade for us. But they could just click Glacial Lance here. They do go for just Lance. Okay. I assume that's enough to knock out Porygon from the range that we're at, but if we somehow miraculously survive, we'll be in a really interesting spot. So there's Lance. Okay, it does get the KO. So this means to switch it into Venusaur now, right? I wonder if it's Focus Sash Calyrex then, given the way that they played this thus far. We can bring out Venusaur. The thing is, I don't know if Vine Lash is the best play here. I'm kind of tempted to actually just click Sleep Powder at this moment. But, like, I can just Meteor Beam into Calyrex. Sleep Powder is just such a big momentum shift here. I'm down to go for it, because especially if it's like Assault Vest Kyogre, for example, I'm not going to KO it, but they are going to switch out maybe into Rillaboom. Okay, it's going to be Amoonguss, that's fine. And they are going to Protect with the Calyrex. So this is interesting now, because I can actually snowball the game with Celesteela, right? Because now I can max Celesteela, Airstream into Amoonguss, and then Sleep Powder into the Calyrex slot. So even though this turn, like, I didn't really get very much, we do have the potential for Celesteela to just kind of sweep through right now. Now, Amoonguss protecting here feels fairly likely. It also could be Focus Sash, which is my other fear. Sash is kind of concerning here, I think. If it's Sash, so be it. I think I will just max Airstream here and Sleep Powder into Calyrex. It also could be Koba, so if it's one of those, like, I'm just not going to be in super good shape here. But I don't think I have a clear, like, counterplay. Against Focus Sash, what I could do is Weather Ball and Airstream Amoonguss, but then if Calyrex just Trick Rooms, we're in really bad shape. So I'd rather just split my attacks here. But there are a fair amount of combinations here that I can lose to without knowing, like, what my opponent's actual set is. Let's see, because Celesteela can really snowball this game super quickly. They just go for Rage Powder. Okay, that's the best case scenario here. And Sleep Powder connects. Wonderful. So even though we lost the Pokemon immediately to start this game, like, we are now in a really interesting spot, I think, because of the pressure of this duo at the moment. They are Koba Berry, though, which isn't great for me because it means they should survive. Oh, okay, that actually was a lot more damage than I was expecting. That's huge. Because now what I can do is just Weather Ball to finish off the Amoonguss and Steel Spike the Calyrex Ice Rider. Yeah, I don't want to click Rockfall here because we don't want to potentially break our own Focus Sash. Although, I actually don't know if the Sash is really that valuable anyway. I actually can't tell if Amoonguss hangs on from Sandstorm. I think it does. So I'm going to Steel Spike here and Weather Ball into the Amoonguss slot. Okay, they just go for another Rage Powder. Perfectly fine with me. As long as you're not, like, Sash Calyrex here. I mean, I guess it actually could be Babiri. So, Rockfall actually could have been better to cover for Babiri Rex there. Okay, Weather Ball gets the KO onto Amoonguss. Beautiful. No Babiri. Now just fingers crossed for no Focus Sash, and we should be good for this turn. Cool. So you can see how Calyrex is snowballing so quickly, right? Or sorry, not Calyrex, Celesteela. We got a special attack boost from the original Meteor Beam. I got a speed boost from Airstream. I got a defense boost here, and I'm going to get a beast boost, right? So that's 4 stat boosts in just a couple of turns with Calyrex, which is... I keep calling Calyrex Celesteela. Because, no, yeah, Calyrex, of course, also another Pokemon that has a lot of snowball potential. But yeah, this is just such a strong game for Celesteela here, honestly. As Incineroar is my opponent's last one. Okay. So what do you normally expect here? Maybe just Fake Out and Max Geyser into, like, Fake Out Rillaboom or Hailstorm, like, double up onto that slot. If I actually had Groudon here over Calyrex, we would have had this game won. But I felt the need to bring Calyrex because, like, once again, I didn't think Groudon can contribute very much. And, like, I would need to get into a very specific scenario that I wasn't, like, 100% confident on. I think here I'm down to just click Rockfall into the Incineroar slot. And switch out Venusaur into Calyrex Ice Rider. Yeah. Because basically one of our win conditions at this point is my opponent should Dynamax the Kyogre. I guess you could max Incin, but I'm getting a +2 Rockfall against it, so I don't think it would be that strong of a play for them. But the idea is, like, we're just snowballing this game so quickly, right? So Venusaur obviously is a really favorable matchup into Kyogre. But I think this game was really interesting because, you know, one key skill in Series 12 is being able to know when to bring a restricted Pokemon versus when not to bring it. And I guess in retrospect, like, Groudon actually wouldn't have been bad here, right? Especially over Calyrex Ice Rider, but it didn't feel consistent enough for me. And, like, I think if I brought Groudon as well as Calyrex Ice Rider, I'd have to drop one of the, you know, 2 Pokemon, or one of the 3 non-restricteds that I brought, and that would actually set me back a decent amount. Perfect. Rockfall gets the KO. Celesteela gets yet another special attack boost, and, importantly, changes the weather into sand here. With us having Focus Sash Venusaur in the back, I think this should be locked up, more or less, unless I miss, like, a bazillion Frenzy Plants. I don't want to click Sleep Powder at this point. We should assume that they are Assault Vest here, I think, on the Kyogre. But getting that Airstream boost earlier was really critical. And they actually double up onto the Venusaur slot. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Like, their, you know, fear is obviously Venusaur just, like, Sleep Powdering them or Frenzy Planting them for a KO. But now we should be in super good shape. And actually, yeah, if that were Groudon, what would I have done? Maybe just, I probably would have still switched it in, right? Either way, though, I think it's fine to just double protect here. Just stall out another turn of their Dynamax. Like, even if they KO Calyrex through Protect, which I don't expect them to, but if they do, I still have a free switch into Venusaur, and I have the Focus Sash intact on that. And then I can just Protect Venusaur and then just Air Slash with Celesteela, right? I guess the scary thing is if they actually do KO us through Protect, and then Geyser, like, one-shot Celesteela, and then I miss Frenzy Plant. But I suppose, actually, then they can't, yeah, because now you're not going to be able to change the weather unless you click Hailstorm. But if you Hailstorm here, you're not even going to get a knockout. So, yeah. Now we can just Air Slash here and go for... I'm going to Glacial Lance here because I don't want to... Actually, I'm thinking with, like, Celesteela here, do I actually need to click Air Slash? Because I'd rather just go for 100% accurate attacks right now, I think. So, yeah, we're going to Flash Cannon into Glacial Lance, I think. Because all we're looking for is to put the Kyogre in KO range from Frenzy Plant anyway, but they just end up forfeiting. I guess what's scary there is if they're Assault Vest Kyogre, but then even if you are, like, Geyser KO Celesteela maybe, you pick up one knockout there, right? But then Venusaur just comes out, and I have Focus Sash intact on it, and so you have to use at least 2 hits into it, and we have Frenzy Plant, so as long as we connect on one of the 2 attempts from Frenzy Plant, we should be good. So, yeah, I mean... the end game there, like, we more or less had it, and because it was all about setting up for a Frenzy Plant end game, I was just looking for chip damage to guarantee that Frenzy Plant would KO, and I'm fairly sure a +3 Flash Cannon plus Glacial Lance would put it low enough, but I guess if it were a really bulky Assault Vest Kyogre, I can't say that with a guarantee, but that was an amazing game for Celesteela. Like, I think that game highlights one of the main reasons, like, that's why you kind of want to use it in this format, right, because against the right teams, this thing can just snowball out of control, and we didn't even get the Meteor Beam hit onto the, Calyrex Ice Rider, right? But it was important enough to get the special attack boost so that we can go from there. So, yeah, let's look for another. Our next match here, and it's a Giratina Origin, Kyogre, Incineroar, Regieleki, Umbreon, and Grimmsnarl. That is really cool. I don't really know what to expect from the Giratina Origin here, honestly. Like, we featured it before, but it is not a really common Pokemon at all. You know, you normally use its attacks from its same type of attack bonuses. Could be like Breaking Swipe. Umbreon's pretty disruptive here. How good is Scarf Groudon here? It's okay, but my problem is not dealing enough damage with it, really. Haven't really brought Gastron out at all, but I think this is finally a good matchup for it because there's no grass-type attacks that even really scare me. See, Venu is interesting because it's not super good against Giratina, but the Vine Lash value I think is excellent. And then Celesteela is actually really interesting here to me as well. But it means dropping something, and I don't know who to drop here. Like, I almost want to drop Calyrex Ice Rider in this matchup, but the thing is, this thing could be really strong if I get Trick Room up, I suppose. Okay, I'm kind of down for a Celesteela plus Gastrodon lead, I think. What do I want on the back? Like, who do I Dynamax in this game? I feel like I should max Venusaur. Okay, so my problem with Venusaur here is that it can't actually do really good damage into Giratina at all, so I'm actually going to bring Groudon and Calyrex, because I think I'd rather max Calyrex to beat Giratina here. It does feel a little bit weird not bringing Venusaur, though, because it's so good into, like, my opponent's 5 of their 6 Pokemon, right? Including the Kyogre, obviously. But, yeah, they're going to play a Giratina-centric game here. So, I'm really excited to fight against Giratina. I don't really know what to expect from it. But I think with the lead that we have here, we're actually in pretty decent shape to start. Because I can pressure Giratina with a Yawn immediately. Now, I have Meteor Beam here as well. So I can Meteor Beam, for example, into the Grimmsnarl slot to get a free special attack boost immediately. But they might have Trick, although I wouldn't expect most Grimmsnarls to Trick here. I'm down to get a quick special attack boost, and even if they Trick, it's not the end of the world. So, yeah, we're just going to Meteor Beam and Yawn here on turn 1. And I'm glad Gastrodon finally gets to come out for some games, because I think in all the 4 games we've had with this team thus far, between this episode and the previous one with the team, we really left Gastrodon on the bench for pretty much all of it. And Gastrodon's interesting, right, because it's super good into a lot of the Kyogre teams. Okay, they are going to max the Giratina here. I guess one thing I didn't really think about was, what if it's fake tears from Grimmsnarl, special Giratina, and you just fake tears like Max Phantasm me? I think there's a decent chance that's actually what's coming our way right now, but let's see. It's weird to say, but yeah, we don't exactly have the best Giratina matchup. Ah, it's the fake out set. Okay. Fake out into Phantasm, yep. Onto Gastrodon. Does that one-shot us? That makes me think it's special. But then that would be interesting because then you're not getting value out of the defense boost. I guess it could be mixed as well. Okay. So where do I want to go after this turn? That definitely puts me in a pretty tricky position because, like, Calyrex Ice Rider really doesn't want to come out here, so I guess I feel almost forced to bring out the Groudon. Missed Meteor Beam there. That's not great. Okay. I think what I'm going to do here is, so, like, Calyrex Ice Rider is pretty good in the late game, right, against the Giratina. Because I don't think he should one-shot us, and we should be able to retaliate back with the Glacial Lance. But right now, I have this Choice Scarf Rock Tomb, so I'm actually down to Dynamax, Airstream into the Grim, and Rock Tomb. Basically, what I'm looking for is to also snowball Celesteela in this game. We have an extra turn of Dynamax relative to my opponent right now, and even if they bring out Kyogre to replace it, like, we can just go for another Rock Tomb into a plus, which should be a +2 Airstream, because I assume we should get the knockout here on a Grim, but it depends. You could be ultra bulky Grimmsnarl with Fake Out as well, but normally when Grimmsnarls run Fake Out, you run a lot of speed investment, right? It could be something like max HP, max speed in terms of the EVs. So I would expect to get the KO with the Rock Tomb and Airstream combo. They actually don't go for speed control here, which is really good. Like, I was worried about something like a Thunder Wave or a Scary Face. And they just go for Phantasm. Okay, cool. On to Celesteela. That is so much damage. If it's doing that much, then it's got to be physical, right? I just don't know, like, what the roll is from Giratina onto my Gastrodon from earlier, but based off how much my opponent's doing, it really feels like... At first, I thought it was special, but... Physical makes sense, right? Because you snowball your, the boosts, or the defense drops, I should say. Okay. This next turn is interesting though, right? Because like, do I consider protecting Groudon, or sorry, Celesteela? Because I have one extra turn of Dynamax relative to my opponent right now. They know I have Rock Tomb, they know I Airstream, they actually bring out Incineroar. Okay. Okay, if you're bringing out Incineroar here, I think I do want to just click, Max Guard, I think. What's the alternative, right? Like, I could go for a KO here, Rockfall onto the Incineroar, and then switch Groudon out into Calyrex Ice Rider. Then it would be a Groudon Calyrex endgame, but I would lose the Weather War, right? Which doesn't feel great. Okay, Max Guard, and switch out into Calyrex. It'll make the next turn tricky though, because it's essentially like, do I target the Incineroar or do I target the Giratina with my Celesteela? This is also a fairly obvious max guard, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just Phantasmed into the Calyrex slot. They switch. And Kyogre's not in the back. Interesting. Okay, they do Phantasm into Celesteela, which is huge. That's good. Dynamax ends now. Okay, so what do I want to do here? I don't really get value from speed boosts, and I'm at -2 defense, so I honestly think I want to... Oh, actually, I don't know how fast Umbreon is, right? Because he could foul play me. After a speed boost... Still not sure I'm actually outspeeding Umbreon, which is kind of problematic. I'm at +2 special attack. I also have a potential Calyrex endgame here, right? Okay, I'm going to Steel Spike here and Glacial Lance this turn, I think. Expecting Giratina to protect. They switch out, which is also fine, especially because we have White Herb here. Though... I don't think +2... Would +2 Airstream have KO'd the Incineroar here is one of my questions. Celesteela's looked so good in today's episode, though, so I'm really happy about its performance overall. Either way, +2 max Steel Spike onto Umbreon, just fall short of the knockout, but that's fine. We get a defense boost critically on both of our Pokemon. Yawn or Foul Play. They go for Taunt to deny me Trick Room, but I just click Glacial Lance here. Beautiful. So I can understand the decision to bring Umbreon over Kyogre here. I think it makes a lot of sense because Umbreon has a way better matchup into the... I wouldn't say way better, but like, if your plan is to always max the Giratina, right, then you have a lot more value from Umbreon against the Calyrex Ice Rider because of Taunt especially, but, you know, Foul Play as well. And, you know, Kyogre's still really good offense, obviously, but when you're staring down, like, a Groudon and a Venusaur in Team Preview, you might feel a little bit... And Gastrodon, like, it makes sense why my opponent probably felt a little bit less comfortable bringing Kyogre. So, we've got this defense boost now. I've got Scarf Groudon in the back. The problem is, like, they could still double up onto something, right? And I'm taunted, so I can't protect here. Got +2... I think I want to go for the Air Slash here onto Celesteela. Sorry, not onto Giratina. And just high horsepower here into the Incineroar slot. Because I could see a world in which they protect the Giratina here and just try to Flare Blitz. Does that KO? Ooh, we survived with 2 HP and I hit the Air Slash. Okay, cool. So it was physical with Shadow Sneak here. Parting Shot. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Well, I could have clicked Glacial Lance there then, but let's see if High Horsepower gets the knockout by itself. It does not. Okay. Ah, that's actually really scary then, no? I still have this defense boost, and if you go for Flare Blitz, you actually KO yourself, right? I've got Scarf Groudon in the back. But Groudon doesn't really do very much here against Giratina. I guess I should have just clicked Glacial Lance, but I thought one play they could make was Protect and then just Flare Blitz, and I wanted to cover for that. It was actually really smart to Parting Shot there, because if they just Flare Blitz there, the game would have been over. I should have doubled up onto Incineroar, I guess, too. That was another possibility. But we have a defense boost. I don't even think Flare Blitz KOs, to be honest. So I'm down to just Air Slash here into Incineroar and then Glacial Lance. See if they go for another Shadow Sneak. Because you could read into Celesteela protecting here. Beautiful. Giratina just goes for the protect. Yep, this is the play that I was expecting last turn, but... by the way, actually, I misplayed there by clicking Air Slash. I should always click Flash Cannon onto Incineroar, because I could actually miss Air Slash there. Yeah, and Incineroar is definitely low enough where Flash Cannon would have KO'd, so... That was a slight misplay on my end. You don't want to risk any, like, misses there, and there was no reason to risk a miss. But... now it is just the Celesteela train once again. I'm so happy to have a really awesome episode to just demonstrate how amazing this Pokemon can be in this format, right? Because it has very low usage overall. But yeah, now we just click Flash Cannon and Glacial Lance, and that should be GG. Giratina did so much damage, though. Like, I didn't think the Shadow Sneak against Celesteela would actually be as close as it was. Granted, we were at -1 defense, right? It was -2 from the Phantasms, and then I got 1 defense boost to counteract it. But, yeah, Giratina honestly packs a huge punch there, so I'm very impressed by its damage output. But Celesteela was clutch enough to hang on there. If we had fainted, I think we still would have been fine, right? Because I'd get a free switch and a Groudon, and then I would probably just Rock Tomb the Incineroar or click Rock Slide and then Glacial Lance. So, yeah. Looks like I just got disconnected, so let's look for one more. Alright, third one of the day here, and it is Calyrex plus Thundurus. I think this is probably a game for Groudon to shine. We could try to set up Trick Room here, because these teams generally fall a little bit short against Trick Room, but like they could just lead Thundurus Zacian, and I think that would cause me a lot of issues immediately. I'm actually pretty intrigued by Groudon plus Celesteela here, because what I can do is Rock Tomb with the Groudon and just Meteor Beam with Celesteela, right? So Groudon, Celesteela, Venusaur, Calyrex, Ice Rider, I think. I don't think Gastron's really that good, although they have Blastoise. I don't know, would you really lead Blastoise here? Like, you could for Helping Hand. Something like Blastoise Zacian is scary, because, like, they could do that to try to beat Porygon, and it has Fake Out Pressure as well, but I don't think I have to worry about Blastoise that much, especially with Venu in the back. Yeah, I think, like, Gastron and Porygon are both, like, really passive here, and my opponent's team, like, Thundurus, Calyrex, Zacian teams are really fast-paced on offensive, and if you don't lead properly into them, they can just win the game so quickly, because Thundurus can max Airstream, it can max Knuckle. Max Knuckle boost to give Zacian attack boost is really scary, and then you also have, like, Calyrex, which can snowball with Astral Barrage, and yep, there's Thundurus Zacian. So, my game plan against this is actually to just Rock Tomb Thundurus turn 1, and then Meteor Beam it as well, I think. A lot of players here, I think, will actually not even target Celesteela, expecting it to protect. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to go for Rock Tomb here. Meteor Beam. I think that should be enough to KO, even if they are Assault Vest. This is obviously a little bit scary, because I can activate Defiant, obviously, but I think here, if they do indeed, like, a lot of players, I think, would go Behemoth Blade onto Groudon, or even protect the Zacian, and then, like, max Airstream, right? So if we don't miss Rock Tomb, like, and I connect, we're in really good shape. But if I actually, like, miss Rock Tomb, or sorry, I guess, yeah, if I miss Rock Tomb and then they max Lightning Celesteela, and they just, like, Behemoth Blade, then we're in really bad shape. So, they Dynamax first, that's already really good to see, in my opinion. But, yeah, the other thing is, I don't know what item the, Celesteela is here. The other thing is, even if we pick up this knockout early, we're not necessarily still in, like, a completely one position, because, yes, like, they won't have a Dynamax to play with, but they'll still have the combination of Calyrex plus the, Zacian, that's already really deadly. But, yeah, there's Protect. Okay, come on. Please don't miss Rock Tomb. Okay, we connect. Beautiful. We can miss Meteor Beam as well, actually, so that's the other part of the equation that I didn't talk about. It's so scary, because, like, we could just win the game on turn 1 here, especially because the Zacian protected, so... Okay. I'm just happy to feature, like, all the different ways Celesteela can thrive in today's episode. It's had, like, even if we lose this one, we're already just so pleased about his performance, but obviously I'm going to try to win here. They go for Max Knuckle, though, so I guess it's not the end of the world, but obviously that's a little frustrating. Yeah. Turns like that just really sting because you can like feel like you have the win right in front of you already. And they actually targeted Celesteela too, which is really bad because now they can just Behemoth Blade me. So, I feel like I jinxed myself. I said, you know, even if we miss, it's okay. You know, I'm pleased about it. But now it actually went from what was pretty much a very winning position to a very losing position, especially because they did a good job targeting the Groudon here. Sorry, the Celesteela. Yeah, that's definitely frustrating. Okay, how do I win this game from now then? I think I actually might be forced to Dynamax Groudon here. I'm gonna Quake into Zacian. Basically, I'm gonna try to get rid of Zacian, so then it opens the path for Calyrex Ice Rider and Venusaur in this game. So, even though that miss is obviously really, really unlucky, it's not the end of the world. And, like, you know, between Rock Tomb and Meteor Beam's accuracy, like, the odds of me connecting are still very heavily in my favor, obviously, but it's not 100%, and that's why using any moves that can ever miss in Pokemon is very stressful. But I'm obviously playing from incredibly behind at this point. The other thing is, like, they might just be blading into Groudon here, rather than the Celesteela. Yeah. Like, the other thing is I could have Dynamax Celesteela there, and then just gone for Rock Tomb onto, Zacian, and then just Max Rockfall into Thundurus, but yeah, as soon as I miss that Meteor Beam, we're just in pretty tough shape. I had to make the, you know, target selection this turn correctly. Unfortunately, I didn't call that right either, because I was thinking my opponent might, like, wouldn't really be that scared of Groudon, but they did a good job respecting it, so yeah. That is, I think, like, turn 1 is an example of a high-risk, high-reward play, right? But given my opponent's lead, like, I'm fine with my game plan here because their team is so fast-paced and offensive. Like, and I don't think, like, Porygon solves much for me here, especially because they had Max Knuckle. But, yeah. Still not over, though, because I could actually hit Sleep Powder with, Venusaur as well. And I have Weather Ball on it, so, yeah, we're not out of this quite yet. I don't even know if Weather Ball KOs the Zacian, though. That's the thing. And if they're max speed on Zacian, I think they can just outspeed Venusaur, which is also scary. But, yeah. You're at +3 attack now. Neutral. I think if I want a chance to get back in... Like, I'm actually down to just Weather Ball here to try to KO Zacian and then just Glacial Lance. Try to pick up a double KO and then put Calyrex Shadow Rider to sleep with Sleep Powder. Okay, we are faster here. So, Sun boosted Weather Ball. See if that's enough to KO Zacian. Okay, cool. I'm just so sad. I was so ready to stunt on the Thundurus with Celesteela. Okay, they have Max Steel Spike as well. That's definitely a Assault Vest then. I'm going to do the damage calc with Glacial Lance because I actually don't know, and I think that's pretty important to know. But it also means this turn I actually misplayed slightly because I could have protected Calyrex, right, to stall out their last round Dynamax, and then just Sleep Powder Thundurus next turn. I think if they had... Like, it's still tough, right, because, like, you still have, like, potentially Ditto or Calyrex in the back. And sometimes you are just going to lose because you have a really game-defining miss, right? That's just how the game shakes up sometimes. I could have considered maxing the Celesteela as well, but I really wanted the special attack boost because I figured Assault Vest was decently likely here. So, yeah. Because if we get that knockout on turn 1, then what I can do is just Dynamax the Celesteela and then just, like, switch Groudon out for Precipice Blade spam later on and then max Airstream with Celesteela. Or I could stay in Rock Tomb there, Zacian, Airstream, whatever comes in as well. So, yeah. But now there's not really too much we can do. So, GG. Like, if you play Pokemon, you know... You have to accept that sometimes you're going to have big misses like that, right? That's just the inherent risk of using something like Meteor Beam, and you have to be comfortable with the idea that you will lose games occasionally because you miss, right? But as always, what's important is reflecting on the game and being like, okay, well, do I feel like I put myself in a good position to succeed, right? And, you know, most of the time that turn 1 works out because if we connect on both, then the odds are, you know, pretty overwhelmingly in my favor there, especially with Zacian protecting there. Like, we're just in such good shape, right? Because I get a free knockout, Celesteela's at +2 special attack immediately, and my opponent has no Dynamax to play with, so it would be a really, really tough position for them to come back from. And so, yeah, I'm willing to take that trade, right? Because it's very much in my favor there, and I don't think I have a significantly better lead there, right? Like, with Groudon, what else could I have done? I guess click the Precipice Blades into Zacian, but they protected, as you saw, right? I'm just sad because I think the Rock Tomb plays with this team are so cool, but it does rely on you, unfortunately, hitting Rock Tomb. But I do want to do the damage calc against Thundurus because I am curious whether or not we would have gotten the guaranteed knockout. Because there's a world in which the Thundurus survives there, and if Thundurus survives, then it's also a different ballgame. If they were to survive there, though, they knuckled. Then the next turn, like, Rock Tomb would just finish off the Thundurus, and then I would know it's Assault Vest, right? And then we're still not in terrible shape. Like, yeah, Zacian's at +2 attack, but then I could look towards maxing Venusaur in the end game. So I'm going to pull up the damage calc here just because I do want to learn the Celesteela damage calc. I think that's pretty important. I'm pretty sure it KOs, but I want to confirm that here. So pulling up the damage calc here, the +1 Meteor Beam actually does a lot less damage than I would have expected. It only does 51 to 60%, and I think Thundurus was over 60 there. And so Meteor Beam would have actually not picked up the KO. Now, because I actually ended up going for Max Knuckle rather than Max Lightning, I think we actually still would have been in pretty good shape, assuming you were AV, because then another Rock Tomb would just KO the Thundurus next turn. So they'd only get one turn of Dynamax, right? And then Zacian can go for a KO onto one of my two Pokemon, but then I get a free switch into Venusaur, and we can play the game from there, right? And so, yeah. I think knowing this calc is important, though, because it means that Rock Tomb plus Meteor Beam is not always guaranteed to KO Thundurus, meaning that it is actually a lot more risky to go for that play than I'd initially, thought of. Because I thought it was just going to be a guaranteed knockout, but I think I'm just so used to Lunala +1 Meteor Beam, and Lunala is obviously a good amount stronger than Celesteela in terms of damage output. So, yeah. So it's good to know this because, yeah, it means that, the route I took maybe wasn't the most, as consistent as I thought, but you know, trying to reflect on other ways that I could lead. I think Gastron would be an interesting option, because with Gastron, I can pressure Yawn onto Thundurus, but in a best of one, it's tricky because I don't know the item on Thundurus, right? Life Orb and Assault Vest are the most common items, and, I'm really scared about the idea of going up against, a Life Orb Thundurus there, right? Because they can just snowball so quickly if I lead Gastrodon, but one interesting route we can take is, Gastron plus Groudon lead, especially with the Choice Scarf from Groudon. The problem is that, it's even after a single airstream, I'm in a pretty tricky spot, and after two airstreams, the Venusaur is also getting outsped by, right? But I think one route we could have taken was Gastron Groudon lead with Celesteela, and then Venusaur in the back. That's one adjustment to go for. But yeah, it would have been interesting to see how this game would have played out if we connected on the double up, but you know, because they went for Knuckle over Lightning. And like I said, airstream was also a possibility for them. If they actually went for airstream there, it would have been just pretty screwed, I think, because then the Zacian just beats Groudon with ease the subsequent turn. So, yeah. I think definitely a tricky one there, and would have been nice to see Meteor Beam connect, but, you know, that's Pokemon. You're going to miss sometimes. That's just part of the game. And even if we had hit that, I don't think we necessarily would have been in, a completely game-winning position and looking at this damage calc. But it would have been fun to see how the trade-off would have worked, because, yeah, my opponent would have only gotten one max move off, and then Max Venusaur would have looked really good in that end game there, because I can just Max Flare into Zacian, G-Max Vine Lash, and go from there. So, yeah. But when you use inaccurate moves in Pokemon, you're going to expect to lose some games from misses. That's just how it is. And I could have played the following turns after turn one a lot better too, right? I just gave up Groudon. Don't really feel bad for that, though, because I was already in such a big hole after turn one that I knew I had to make some, really big plays, and they're not always going to work out, right? The other option, was to switch Groudon out, maybe, sacrifice Calyrex-I, Ice Rider, and then, max Celesteela, Rockfall to KO Thundurus. That would be pretty interesting, because then I get Scarf Groudon back out in the game next to Venusaur, if you KO the Celesteela subsequently, right? But I was expecting Behemoth Blade into Celesteela that turn, and then just, an Airstream into Groudon, because I figured they should recognize that Groudon here is Scarfed, and so they covered for me Dynamaxing there, and that was smart on their end, so yeah. And then I could have protected Calyrex Ice Rider as well, and then Fish for Sleep Powder with Venusaur, so it would have depended on what their final Pokemon were, but would have been a big uphill battle even if we'd protected Calyrex there, I think, but at least would have given us more of a fighting chance, so yeah. Anyway, thank you so much as always for watching. I hope that this episode has demonstrated the potential that Celesteela has in this format. I've personally been really impressed by it. And yeah, I mean, it's 3 consecutive games where Celesteela came out and put on a lot of pressure damage-wise and was kind of the primary sweeper. So thanks so much for watching. Thank you to China Sapphire for the team. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.